This is our Java level 3 class, and last week we learned how to use the POI library in our application, and we wrote the initial Java code, and we could read the data from a spreadsheet, and we stopped there. So today we are going to details in the code. So let me share my screen. So this is the code I give to you guys. If you do not have it, so let me give you the code again today. So you have the code. So once you have the code, then I will run it. Then we will spend the time. We will dive into the code and walk through it and help us understand it. Looks like I get too many codes here. So okay, so you get the code and now let me run it. Make sure you have this file, okay? This is the location for my file. Make sure you have the file in the right location, or you can change the path to that file. So now let me run this code. And you see here, with that code, it can read all the data from the spreadsheet. It reads the data from the spreadsheet and that displayed here. Now let's try to look into the code now. That's very important. This will help us understand it. We know that this code is able to read a spreadsheet file. It does not look like with the test we did. We use the buffer read or the scanner to read a Word file, and what we saw was the strange characters. We don't know what they are, just strange things there, right? And then now you see this makes sense. It is the data we stored in the spreadsheet. Let me go to that spreadsheet again. Go to E drive temp folder. Go there. So that's the AOE demo. If I open this one, you see this is the data. This is the data. All right. So you do see this data is displayed here. All right. So now let's walk through the code. So here is the file object. We spend weeks on this one. You create a file object and you use a constructor to do it. You pass in the path to it, and then you get the file object. And with the file object, you create an input stream. And we mentioned a little bit why we need an input stream, because we are trying to write something to this spreadsheet in the future. Okay, so that's why an input stream will be better. If you just use a file, the file is a physical file in the in your hard disk, then you know you are reading it, you do not close it, and then you write to it, that will cause problem. Okay, that will cause problem. So that's why we get the input stream. So we got the information, we get the content, we get the content of the file in the memory. You see AFIS. And then you see what we do. We create a workbook. So we assign that workbook to this variable WB. And how can we construct that? I use this input stream. This input stream uses point to this spreadsheet file. So now my workbook has all the content from this spreadsheet file. After you create a workbook, then you need to go to the sheet. So a workbook can have multiple sheets, right? It can have multiple sheets. So you are using the first one. Okay, you see, workbook get a sheet at index 0. So now you see when we learn Java, we learn the index. Index actually is widely used. If you have a list of something or you have a collection of something, so this means you get the first sheet. Okay, so you get the workbook. Now you get the sheet. So then the next thing is to get the rows. All the rows, okay, from this sheet. So you see, how do you do that? You use the sheet iterator. The iterator will get all the rows, and so all the rows in this workbook sheet. So you get the rows here. All right, this iterator. So you assign this to this variable itr, and then now you have an iterator, so you can iterate through it, right? You have this iterator, so that's actually row. So you ask it if I have the next row. If it has, okay, you just assign this row to this variable, this row variable, right? You see, we did the similar thing for you to get the cells. Okay, you have the row. Now row, you get the cell. How do you get it? You use a cell iterator. And then you get the cell iterator. You get that, then you loop through the cells. You ask if the cell has next, it does have, you get that cell. All right. So once you get a cell from the spreadsheet, the value is stored in every cell, right? So now you got it, and then you check it, the cell type. So you use get cell type, this method. So it will tell you what cell type you will have. If it's a string, that means this cell stores a string. Then you see what you just print out that value. You use a cell, get a string cell value. Okay. If you know it is a string, and then if the cell value, cell type is numeric, you see what you use. You get the numeric cell value and you print it out. So this will learn in the Java level 2 switch. It's like an if, else if, right? If, else if. So let's look like a that. And the default, okay? We do not print out anything. And after we loop through all the cells for that row, then we go to the next row and then do the same. So you see here, we loop through 3 rows, right? Now, actually, we have 4 rows. If you come back to the Excel file, open it, and you see we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 rows. Why I only see 3 rows of data printed? Because you look at this cell, it is in a formula. It is not a string, not a numeric. So that's why we do not print out anything. So the system actually crawled through that cell, but because we did not print it out, so you do not see it in the output. Okay. So every time you finish a row, then you print out an empty space. You print out that. And after you finish using with the workbook, you really want to close it. And also then you close the input stream. Okay, the file input stream. So after you finish using them, you close it. So you see the logic for us to work within a spreadsheet file. First thing, you need to get the workbook. If you want to get the workbook, you need to get the file, right? So you get the file, get the workbook, then get the sheet, and then get the row, then get the cell. Okay. So that's the steps you need to take in order to get the value from each every cell. Does this make sense? Does it make sense to you guys? Andy.
Yeah.
So how about you, David?
Can you explain the switch thing again?
Okay, switch. Steven, can I get you to help me explain switch?
I'm not too sure how I should explain this.
Right. When you do conditions, okay, you can use several forms. One is if something equal to something, right? If this condition, then do something. There's another condition format you can use, which is a switch. Switch is that you give it an expression, or let's say if this is a variable, give it a variable. And then you check the value of that expression or the value of that variable. So you have different cases here. So if let's say name, if I get a student name here, switch student name. If we kiss Tom, then I will call Tom's mom. Okay, if we kiss Bob, then I will call Bob's mom. If we kiss Amy, then I will email Amy's mom. Something like that. So you have different cases there. Here we only listed 2 cases. You can have multiple cases. And then you have a default one. That means, okay, nothing matches in those cases. Then do something here. Also, you need to remember, in each every case, you have to have the break statement here. If you don't have the break statement, it will continue to do this one. Okay. If you have this break statement, if this matches, execute this line of code, jump out the switch. So when you use a switch, remember this must be a variable. It cannot be a constant, or it needs to be an expression. It can also not be a constant. Because if it's a constant, then there's no change, no variation there, right? So that's why we check the cell type. What kind of type of the cell it is? It is numeric type, a string type, a formula, and other types. And we can see the, let me just give you the URL so you guys can see the cell types. Let me just give you this URL. Okay, let me just go to do this. So, okay, so you will see you have get cell type here. And then it's the cell type. So let me give you this URL. Right? So you have the cell type, let's do the enumeration. So how many types do we have for a cell? You see there can be a string, there can be a numeric, there can be a formula, there can be an arrow, there can be a boolean, there can be a blank, and of course, none. Okay? So you have those many types. What we did here, we only listed 2 cell types, string and numeric. We did not list like a formula. We did not list like a boolean. Okay. All right, that's a good question. All right, for the rest of the students. Thank you, David. For the rest of the students, Michael, does the code make sense to you?
What does the dot next method do?
So
Yeah, like there.
dot next, right? That's a good question. That's a very good question. I think this is also very important in the future if you deal with database. So for this example, in our spreadsheet, so you have a lot of rows. So every time you call the next method, I do not think I taught students in Java on this, but I believe I taught the students if you were in my Python class before, when we talk about what is an iterable object, iterable object needs to implement the next method. So in Java, if you think about that, I create an interface as the iterator for interface. This interface has a method called next. Why do I need to say next here? Why do I need this method? Because this method will get the next item. Okay, let's say I have 10 cells here. So I say next, then I will get the next cell. So if my position right now is at position 8, so if I say next, then I get to position 9. So cell 9. So then the next I get cell 10. Then the next I got a problem, but I will not have a problem. Why? Because I use this to check. Do I have a next? If I do not have a next, then it will not come into this loop. So that means it promised me it has a next item in it. So I use next, I will get the next item. So here is the row. So if I have next row, I will get another row. Now here is the cell. A row can have multiple cells. So I will get the next cell. So you use next. So that's the interface for an iterate, I believe. Let me just Go to Java. Java. Correct. You see, the parrot is an interface. As interface, it must have the method next. As next. Let me send this to you. You guys can take a look at it. So all the objects, all the classes that implements this interface, you have to have these. You have to have those methods implemented. And then what does next do? Next will return the next element in the iteration. Good question. So any other questions from the class?
What's ITR?
Let me see. Which one? ITR? I did not get your question.
Yeah, what's ITR?
ITR is the variable. This variable.
I see. Okay.
Actually, it's an iterate. It's for me to iterate the rows in the sheet. In this sheet. So that's why I send all the rows to this variable.
I get it. I didn't see that one.
Right, so I guess now everyone knows this code, right? What does it do, right? Is that the fair assumption? Okay, all right. If it is fair, so let's move on. So we just take the first step. We can read out the values from a spreadsheet. So let's move on. We already spent the time on that, so let me just skip this slide. All right, so can we spend 10 minutes to create a method that will return the value of a cell? This method takes in a sheet, a row number, and a column number. Assume this cell is a string. So what I meant is that, can you write a method, say like this, string get a cell value. You come in the sheet and then row number, column number. Can you guys go ahead and do that? 10 minutes. You may need to spend some time to learn about how to get to a cell. And how to get to a row. Here we look through it with a sheet. How can you get to a specific cell? So you need to spend some time on that and learn that. I have a code. You can see the code is not long at all, but I really wanted to force you guys to find out yourself how to do this. Right? How can I get to a specific cell? That's pretty much what I want you to do. And then you can, once you get to that specific cell, you can use get a string cell value, right? You have the cell, you get a string cell value because I already said Assume the cell is a string. You just use to get a cell string value, string cell value. Get that and return it. But I want you to write a method to do it. And then I will need to use that method. Go ahead and do that. I can give you the signature for the method. All right. So let me give you the signature for the method. You can duplicate this one. Okay. You can use this definition. Now you just implemented the body of the method. So the only thing you need to do actually, let me see. Right? Let me just share this to you. This website, you see, you come for the class called a sheet. Of course, the sheet you got is this one, right? XSSF sheet. But this is the parent. So you get the sheet. How can you get the row? You see here, you just use get a row. Get a row. Right? Just a row number. I want you guys to be able, you needed to have this ability. You need to know, okay, I want to get the row. If I have a sheet, how can I do that? Look through the method and see which method will help you get that. So that's the ability you need to, you guys need to build it now. If you are at level 3 already. So you need to have this idea now. How can I get the problem solved? What library do I need? I get the library. Let's see what classes are in this library. I get the class, then let's see what method are in this this class. So what does that method do? So that's the fundamental skills for a developer, like a Java developer. You do not have to memorize it, but you know that you need to know the direction, how I can approach it. Right. So give you guys like 5 more minutes to do it. If you finished, let me know, and I can you can either share your code to me, or you can just copy and paste your code to the chat and send it to me. And then I will come to check you guys' work. If you already shared it to me, that's good. I'm not going to ask you to share again. But if I do not get it, I may ask you to just present and share your screen. Anyone finished? Okay. Right, you're right. Steven, for the rest of the class. You have 1 minute to go. Okay, so let me check. Devin, have you finished, Devin?
Can you come back to me? I'm ready.
So how about you, Andy?
I'm still working on it. Almost done.
Okay, so Michael.
Yeah, I'm not done yet either.
Right, give you guys 2 more minutes.
I think I'm done.
Good, can you share?
Change the class name into the correct one, and then now all of this is red.
Okay, very good. The only thing is that you need to return the value because you see in your method, you have the return type is true. Yes, put in semicolon there. Now it's very good. It is very good. Thank you, Devin. Wonderful job. So let me share my screen now. So I have the identical code here. So this is the get cell value method. And you have the sheet passing in, and then you have the row number, column number. Why do I ask you guys to do this? Because here in our example, we using loop to get the row, get the cell. And actually, there are a better way to do that. If you know the row number, if you know the column number, you can precisely locate that cell. That's how you do it. And if I wanted to rewrite this code to make it more simple, I will just use this. So look at my screen. We'll just use this. And I will take all other codes out. That's it. This method will do that. A sheet, get a row, get a cell, get a string cell value. Connect. All right, very good. So let me do not change those. Get back all my code. Okay, so you guys see how you can get the cell value and the return. And with this method, now we can do something quickly. Okay, so let's move on. So please not practice on setting new value. Set a new value for a cell, create a method that takes in a sheet, a row number, column number, and the string value assumes the cell is a string. And you just need to copy this method and change this to set. That's like what I'm doing here. You have a string value, and you can set cell value like this. Okay, just do that. So let me give you this code. So you can get the cell value. Now you can set the cell value. So you have the ability to read and write. But there's one thing we wanted to try, and we wanted to see if it works for us or not. Can you guys copy this method and put into your class? You get the cell value, you set the cell value, okay? So now, let's do this. So that's a code. Okay, let's do this. After you set a new value to a cell, can you save it to the spreadsheet file? Okay. Try running the method after you loop and then open the spreadsheet to see if the data is changed. Also try to run it before you loop and see if you get the new data. So what does it mean? So let me do this. Let me do this. So I assume you all have these two methods in your class now. Should be java.io.scan. Okay, what do I mean? So let me do this. So here is the loop, right? So I run through the loop already. So I have not created an instance of my class. So let me see why it doesn't work. Um, Java util scan. Okay. Alright, so what do I mean? So let me say this is my class name. There were 3. So let me create a new instance of this. Or you can change this method to static. You can use it directly. So let me do this. The level 3 class office. So that's my equal to new. All right. So now let's do this. My office. This is the loop, right? You finish the loop. Let's do this. I want to set a new value. My office set cell value. Okay, you need a sheet, right? So what sheet you have? You have my sheet here. Let's pass in my sheet. First row, first column. Let me give it a value. Let me see. This will be test cell. Let me do this. All right. So I set the value to my spreadsheet. First row, first column. Now it should have value test cell. It should not be class name. So let me run this. Save my code, run it. Okay. Now let me go to open my spreadsheet. You see here, the value does not change. And then now let me go to do it again. Let me go to do this again. So this. Okay, so if you have the code like this, so now let me just put this code before the loop. Okay, take the code out, put it here. Let me save my code. Now let me run my class. Run it. You see here, the output here, it does get changed. So why this line of code changed the cell value, but when I open that file, the spreadsheet file, why I do not see it? Why I do not see it is get changed? Can anyone tell me? So you already have this method, and you are setting new value for a cell. You guys need to change the code so it reflects that your class, okay? Very good, David. Okay. Yeah, David and David, you give me the reason. Here we changed it. Actually, we changed it in the memory. We did not save it to the file itself. So now the question comes, how can I save it to a file? How can I save it to the file? Okay, so David, you did this method. So let me post again. Right. So that means we did not save it to the file. So we need to be able to save it to the file after we set the new value. Right? How to do that? Of course, we need to learn how do we write it to a workbook. Okay? So you need to go to read the workbook class. And see what write method can do. What does write method need? So what? So let's go to see that. Okay. So this X is L. So workbook. Okay. So let's go to this workbook. So how can I save it to the workbook? You go to this method, you see this write method, right? This is write method. Right. Okay. So in the parents, so this is write method. Okay. So how can you write to it? Click on the write method. So if you want to save the change to the workbook, you just needed the output stream. You need the output stream. We have the input stream already. So we just need to get the output stream and write it to this workbook. You see, we need a file output stream. All right, so now we can do this. So I already have this. So I create a new output stream using that file. Then I will write to that file. And then I will do the output stream flash. Okay. Usually you need to do that. So let me give you this code. So you look at my screen and see where I put my code. Okay. So I give you that code and the place I'm going to put it is right before those clauses. Okay. So you see this clause, right? So I'm not going to use that clauses anymore. I will just save that. So what I need to do is that I create an output stream using the same file here. So that's why you see I use the input stream to open the workbook. Now I use the output stream, then I write to this output stream, then flash it, and then close it. So now let me run it. Run it. All right, and I finish running. Let me now go to open the spreadsheet itself. Here, see the cell now changed its value to tested cell. We successfully saved the change, the new value to the workbook with this code. So let me stop here, see if you guys get it to work. If you need my help, let me know. Okay, let me show you the code. So this is the code. Now, actually, you know, this really doesn't matter where you do this one. I can put it in the end. So I can, of course, I need to do this before I write out the output stream. So I can put it here. Let me change this to a different extreme. Let me say office bug. Run this. You need to change this to your class name, okay? Or the instance of your class. Remember how to do that. Let me run this. Okay, now let me come back to open this file. You see now this becomes Office doc. All right, so you successfully created two methods. One is read the value from a cell. It's if you get the row number and the column number. Another method is that you can set a cell with a new value. As long as you get the row number and the cell number and the new value, you have those two methods and you are using them. And the last step we did is that, how can I save the change to the workbook? And if you have this ability, you actually even do not need an existing workbook. You can create a workbook from scratch. You can create a workbook from scratch because you can create a sheet. You can create the value for a cell in that sheet and then save it. And that's it. Does it work for you guys? Andy, does it work for you, Andy?
Not really.
Do you need my help?
Yeah.
Can you share your screen to me? Okay. So 937. So why it doesn't work? Because you directly use the class name. Can before before this then in 936, can you put your class name there? XSL. Yeah. And then create a variable, whatever variable you want to create. You can say not like that. You have to have a variable name. Let's say, yeah, okay. New. Okay, your class name. Parenthesis. Okay. Now go back to this one. You just use yes. Did you set the cell value? Okay, you did that. Okay, good. So can you run it and then try that and open your.
Yeah, I don't know why it keeps on doing like unable to initialize main class or like that.
Do you have a main class? A main. So arrow unable to initialize the main. Public static void main. Oh, I think you may. Use model row. Can you rename the class name? Is that possible? Rename it. Yeah. Go to.
Wait, where? Like this thing?
Not just that thing. Go to your project. Where is this document in? Where is this class in?
Oh wait, I think in here. Yeah.
Right click on it. Right click on it. Say refactor. Refactor. Move up a little bit. Yeah, click on it.
Oh,
Give it a different name. It's you can click finish. Finish. Okay. Let's run it now. No class found error for the row. Can you open your inputs for
wait,
the input?
this one?
No, in your class, the inputs. No, in the code, on the line 3. Can you open it? Yeah, you have the plus sign there, right? Click on it. You do have that. Right. One thing I want you to do, okay, you have Java 15. Okay, can you stop sharing? So let me show you one thing I think you may be missing. Okay, so for your project there, because you are using a new Java. So let me see here. Can you create a file called module-info.java directly on the SRC? And then let me give you this code. It's already at 16. I do not want to keep all the students here, so let me just check. So does it work for you, Steven?
I'm still trying to fix some of the errors.
So what errors do you have? Do you want to share?
I have one saying that file output stream. I just haven't imported it yet, so I just fixed that. So it should work now.
Okay. So how about you, Michael?
Yeah, I think it's gonna work.
So how about you, Devin? Does it work for you?
No.
Do you need my help?
Yep.
Okay, so you can stay. How about you, David?
It says that the system can't find the specified path. Yeah, let me share screen.
I think you probably have the same thing as what Andy has. Oh, then that means you need to find that file. Where is that file? You need to have that file.
Oh wait, so I need to create.
So this uses E drive temp AOE dem.xlsx. You need to make sure that you have that file in that location. If you do not have that location, you need to make sure this path is correct. It point to that what location of your file. Just go ahead and correct that. Do you have this file?
I haven't created it yet.
Okay, you actually I asked you to download it from the shared Google Drive.
Oh, okay.
You remember where the Google Drive is? Just share the Google Drive.
Yeah, I do remember.
Yeah, go there and download it. So Devin, do you want to share what help do you need? Yeah, for the students, you do not need my help. You can drop. Let me get Miss Heat in, okay? Miss Heat, I want to return the class to you first. Do you have anything before
Thank
I
you.
let
So
this?
I will just stop recording.